Let's get more on the situation on the ground now. Professor Michael Clark, our defence and security analyst, is with me. Michael, always good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's touch on the sinking of the Moskva first of all. How significant is it?
Oh, it's a big blow to the Russians. It's their flagship. The last time they lost a flagship was in the Russo-Japanese War of 1904. So it's a big prestige blow. And that ship was acting as the command centre. It's a guided missile cruiser and a ship that it does air defence. So it will have been the ship that was actually organising the rest of the fleet. They've got about 30-odd ships in the Black Sea at the moment. So the loss is huge prestige loss. They'll reorganise themselves, but there it is. They've got to live with it now.
And does it change the likelihood of Odessa getting attacked? It's a port town that we've been discussing a lot.
Well, yeah, Odessa's been safer for a while now, mainly because the ground forces have not got close enough to Odessa. They got caught at Mykolaiv and have been pushed back. So until Odessa, until a fleet could get to Odessa with ground forces at the same time, they weren't going to achieve very much. So I think that prospect has receded a little bit. Odessa today is, I would say, a bit safer than it was yesterday.
I think we've got another map to look at as well, just to talk more broadly about the Black Sea fleet as a whole and in the Sea of Azov. What are we talking about in terms of Russian forces there at the moment?
Yes, I mean, they've got some pretty big elements in the Black Sea. And, of course, they've got the very important port of Sevastopol, which they seized when they seized Crimea in 2014. It's illegal, but they've got it and they're using it. It's the Black Sea port. The entry into the Black Sea is determined through the strait, through the Bosphorus, which are controlled by Turkey, and that's governed by the Montreux Convention of 1936, which says that Turkey can close the straits to warships if there's a war going on, or they can close the straits to ships that are a threat to them personally. And so there's a big political issue here. What will the Turks allow through according to the 1936 convention? What will they not? So they've said they'll allow Russian ships to leave the Black Sea, but they won't let any more go through. And there's some quite big decisions, I think, coming up, because I think NATO are getting to the point where they think they might want to put some ships into the Black Sea in order to challenge what the Russians have been doing there.
Well, that would be a hugely significant step if we get to that point. And then just sum up for us what we're looking out for in the week ahead, particularly as it relates to the east and the south, and when that likely big Russian offensive starts.
Yes, I mean, that big offensive is still building. It hasn't really started yet, and the Russians are still landing a lot of stuff at Berdyansk, which is about 50 miles west of Mariupol, in order to move northwards. When that offensive starts, it will be pretty big. We're seeing lots of fighting going on at the moment, but really the Russians are still building up this big concentration of forces on their side of the border, moving it in. As and when it starts, it will be quite a big offensive.
And if we've got that extra aid coming from the US, $800 million worth, how long does this Russian offensive have to delay for that to be in Ukrainian hands?
Yeah, it's a pure guess, but I mean, we're talking about a couple of weeks probably. The thing is, the Americans are sending the Ukrainians what they can use immediately, things they don't need to be trained on, and they need a lot more ammunition. Also, the weather in Slavyansk for the next week is wet. There's going to be rain all next week. That's not good for the Russians. It is good for the Ukrainians because it probably buys them a little bit more time.
Michael, as always, thanks so much.